Peace, God. Peace, peace, peace. Man, y'all see what it is? Y'all see where we at with it, man. Niggas at work, per usual type shit. So, the message I want to share with you today is allow yourself some grace and some patience with yourself, with your own process of overcoming shit that you got to deal with. You know what I'm saying? I know in a lot of other videos, I'm preaching the message that, you know what I'm saying, you need to be putting in the proper steps or putting in the proper work to unlock the philosophy necessary to manifest, you know what I'm saying, a higher level of consciousness for yourself and come closer to your own godhood. But at the same time, you also got to understand that while you are this conscious observer of humanity, you still have been reduced to some aspects of human thought, human expression, human experience. And so you got to be willing to be patient with yourself. You got to be willing to be kind to yourself. You got to be willing to be loving to yourself, because you ain't going to have it all figured out overnight. Shit, I know I don't. You know what I'm saying? I still got my struggles. I still got my battles that I'm meant to overcome in time. But that's part of the reason why we manifested and incarnated here into this realm in this lifetime that we in, is to observe the aspects of our humanity that we no longer want to carry with us as a condition of our thoughts. You see what I'm saying? Like, humanity is just a condition of God's consciousness. So as I was saying before, you know what I'm saying, we all, everything in this existence as we know it, we all exist within the mind of God, but the mind of God also exists within all of us individually. You know what I'm saying? Everything has God within it. Everything has God's infinite potential permeating through it. So with that being said, this experience that you have right now as a human in this human form in this lifetime is just an expression of God's thought, and it has been limited to a certain condition of being. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, as a man, as a black man, I have been given a certain set of conditions that I really can't do anything about. Whereas if I had been born as my gender counterpart as a woman, or if I had been born as my ethnic counterpart as a white person, European, Asian, whatever, I would have a completely different condition that I would have to abide by as an expression of God's mind. So with that being said, it's about understanding that, like, there's certain things you're going to have to figure out what's the middle point that you can navigate through these things. And the insight I would like to leave with you in regards to that is, it's not about so much so trying to figure out how to overcome it, unless it's something that you absolutely see it being a destructive tendency or a destructive behavior. It's more about figuring out what is the most primal origin for that behavior, the most primal origin for that thought process as it manifests itself outwardly. So if I was to give you an example, I would say, let's say you got the tendency to be argumentative. Where does that stem from? Does that stem from, because it could be different reasons why you might want to argue. It might stem from a need to feel like your perspective is valid and holds weight in certain situations. It may come from childhood trauma that left you feeling like anything that you had to say wasn't of value enough to be considered. It may come from feeling like you limit yourself and your expression of thought verbally in situations where you would have liked to have speak up for yourself, spoken up for yourself, or even in situations where maybe it called for you to insert your opinion or insert your perspective, but you kind of just froze up because you felt unsure about your opinion. And so that might manifest itself as being an argumentative tendency over time, because it might be this desire that stems from a more primal origin, that if you were to address that, like I said, it's not about eradicating the behavior per se. It's a case by case thing. Some situations it may call for just a complete eradication of that behavior before it gets too far, you know what I'm saying? Before you get too far into the behavior to where you almost feel helpless or stuck with that, you know what I'm saying, that habit that you developed. So with that being said, once you're able to identify a more primal you know what I'm saying, origin for it, you could then start to address it from a different perspective to where it's like I can allow myself to be in the ways that satisfy the root cause of this urge without it being destructive or harmful to myself or others. If it boils down to you feel argumentative because you feel like your perspectives need to have some sort of meaning and value in order for you to feel safe and secure emotionally or whatever the case is, then you just need to find a different medium for expression. Let's say another example, let's say that you're a violent individual, right? You have the tendency to let emotionally tense situations cause for physical confrontation for you because that's the way that you've learned to adapt to these types of situations, right? It may not necessarily be that you seek violence per se. Maybe you've allowed yourself to maybe you allowed yourself to become so programmed with that act alone as a means of expressing your frustration or your aggression without any sort of healthy outlet to the shit. If that's the only way that you known to express it to yield yourself the type of results that you were looking for, it may not be this is the only way that you know how to handle situations. It may just be at the root cause of it. There's aggression that stems from something else that you needed to express and exercise in a different way. It could be, you know what I'm saying? It could be some shit like feeling feeling like you didn't have the most security or physical safety as a child, or feeling like you were in certain situations where you allowed yourself to be victimized and didn't do anything to protect yourself in the ways that you thought that you should once you reached a different level of understanding later in life. It could be as simple as shit, nigga, you got bullied or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's not me to discredit what your experience was. I'm just giving out examples. And if the shit resonate with you, then you know what I'm saying, extrapolate that from the message that you necessarily need for you to be able to, you know what I'm saying, move forward in the fashion that you need to. If what it is you going through is something that's bothering you or something that you seek change for, like I said, identify what the issue is right now, and then try to backtrack and retrace that shit back to some sort of origin of primal expression. And when I mean primal, I mean like what's the most simple way that you could put it? Like, for example, I put this out there. At one point in time, I struggled with commitment. I had commitment issues. I was highly involved with, you know what I'm saying, more than one woman at a time. And this ain't to big myself up or no shit like that, because I'm not necessarily proud of the fact that like commitment was something that was so difficult for me to like conceptualize, but I had to break it down to where it's like it all boiled down to a lack of intimacy that I probably had as a child that needed to be there from a space of nurturing, and understanding that there's other factors that play into that shit. Like you see, like you got to be able to see the piece of the puzzle that's most relevant for the part of the picture that you're analyzing, but also be able to see the larger picture so that way you can recognize how that piece of the puzzle fits in real time. So while it was a lack of intimacy that I felt as a child that probably could have had me in this space, and when I mean intimacy, I don't mean like the you know what I'm saying, I don't mean the form of intimacy that we most commonly used as a term now where it often means something sexual. I mean intimacy in terms of a certain level of emotional connection that I was looking for, or a certain level of physical stimulation that don't have to be reduced to sex that I maybe sought out. So because of the nature of how I grew up, my pops not being there early on in my developmental stages, my mother had to over masculinate her role to be able to do her what she felt would be in my best interest and to the best of her ability to compensate for this missing part of my life. So understanding that, okay, at some point in time it's mommy issues. All right. Now how did the mommy issues manifest? What's the bigger picture behind this one piece of the puzzle? How is it showing up as a behavior right now? How is it becoming this thing where it's, if I can't identify what the root of it is, it can escape me and get beyond me. And then you also got to be able to look at other contributing factors for, you know what I'm saying, for all of it, for the whole piece of the pie, right? Because it's like, on one hand, talking about the fact that I was dealing with multiple women at one point in time because I just couldn't be committed to shit for real. I also understand that a lot of that came from a different form of childhood trauma by the way of bullying. So there was this level of acceptance. And ironically for me in my lifetime, I really didn't get bullied by like boys like that for real for real. Yeah, I did have some male bullies growing up and shit like that. But to be honest with you, I got picked on a lot by girls. And that shit confused the fuck out of me at that point in time, because now that I'm older, I do understand that it was exactly what people said it was. It was just these 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 young-minded individuals took a certain level of interest in you and did not know how to express that other than what I guess seemed appropriate to the mind of a child, which is, I'm gonna point out that this person is different and I'm gonna make fun of them or I'm gonna tease them or da 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 because that's gonna give me the attention that I seek from them. You see what I'm saying? Like all that, oh, they only teasing you because they like you type shit. Like understanding that like that's the psychology. But then on the flip side, the shit kind of fucked me up because it made me feel like I needed some level of validation or credibility to come from a woman. And then you look at other shit like uh my mother over masculinating her role at home to be more like what she thought dad would have been for me at that age, understanding that there was a certain level of emotional detachment that I didn't feel the most supported in. So then I'm searching outwardly for that with the women that I'm dealing with. And this is just an example that I'm giving you because I feel comfortable sharing this with you. But what I'm saying is you need to be able to address what is your own personal struggle, what is your own story that's manifesting something that may be challenging for you right now. And to tie it back to the beginning, be willing to give yourself grace because you have been reduced to human conditions for as long as you are here. Like I said, I'm all day I'm preaching more or less the same thing. You individualistically are the same thing that you are trying to search for outside of yourself. All the answers that you need and that you think that you want or you desire or you're looking for or you're seeking, it's all inside of you. You have to be willing to journey within your own mind and within your own heart to examine the very nature of your soul, this experience that you're having, this outward projection that's coming from something within, because that's really all this shit is. Everything that's happening to you is happening in your mind first, and then that's creating the outward projection that you are observing at large. And this is the reason why I'm saying, if you were to allow yourself to dig deep enough, you can really find all the answers within you. You don't need none of this shit outside of you. Everything that's outside of you, just look at it as like it's a tool. You know what I'm saying? You don't need the crystals to feel more spiritual. Um you don't need a community of spiritual individuals to help boost up what you can do for yourself internally once you start doing the work. You don't need any particular book. You don't need any particular order, religion, creed, sect, or denomination. You don't need any particular practice. All of this shit is a tool. You see what I'm saying? You don't need meditation any more than you need breath work. These things are tools and you use them how you need to. Like for me, meditation is how I tap into my subconscious mind to better quiet my conscious awareness so that way I can observe some of the things that's happening in the background of my own mind. So that way I could stop the outward projection of a reality that I no longer desire to experience. That's the real work here. That's really what manifestation is about. It's about changing what's going on up here and then synchronizing that with what's going on in here. That unison between the mind and the heart is what's generating the experience. The attachments that you holding on to within your own heart. And when I mean attachments, let's not think about attachments only from the aspect of you get attached to things that you are fond of, because you get attached to the idea of things that you also don't like as well. Because if you don't like it, then you almost have the same amount of energy going into it as if you did like it. The middle ground that you should be moving towards is a space of indifference for that which is. Like, for example, a motherfucker that's a motherfucker that's not afraid of spiders don't like them any more than they dislike them. It's just I feel indifferent on a day-to-day basis. I don't even think about that shit. I don't worry about that shit. That doesn't mean anything to me. Now, me on the other hand, I'm still working past the fear of spiders because spiders just, yeah, that's not my, you know what I'm saying? It's not my MO. Like so for me, there's still a level of attachment to that reality to where it's a fear that could have the potential to manifest itself because there's still this attachment to the idea that there has to be a dislike, there has to be a discomfort associated with it, there has to be some level of anxiety ruminating around that as a part of my life. So don't look at attachment only from a standpoint of affinity. Look at attachment as, what are you holding on to? You holding on to the dislikes for your own behavior? Are you holding on to certain aspects of the behavior that you're just not ready to let go because there's certain portions of it that you still enjoy? And then be real with yourself, which ties into the thing that I initially started off with, which is, bro, you gotta be patient with yourself and your own human conditions. We all trying to get to a different realm of things. We all trying to elevate, or at least I hope that that's the goal for all of us. I would like to imagine that everybody in life at least wants that in theory. We really all kind of do want the same thing. We want to be at peace. We want to be happy. We want to find ideal conditions that we can truly say, you know what, I'm content with existing right here in this middle ground of life. For all of the ups and downs that life can provide, I can be okay with this right here. I think that's what everybody want, but maybe everybody not aware of how we can actually get there in real time. And let me be careful because I don't want to sell nobody no false idea. I don't think that in this realm of things, in this third dimension that we currently live in, a conversation I was just having with my pops the other day, you could try to find balance as much as you can, but at some point in time, just because of the nature of this reality we live in, the scales must always tip. And there must always be some new journey to embark on, some new mountain to hike, some new valley to explore within yourself, within your shadow, within your subconscious mind, within your soul. Like there's always something, some level of work that needs to be done internally, externally, mentally, emotionally, physically. There's always something that need to be done. You know what I'm saying? And there's really no finish line. So there's no sense of allowing yourself to be so overwhelmed with the reality that there will be a constant shift in workload. Sometimes it's less work to do, sometimes it's more work to do, but there's always going to be work that needs to be done. That's guaranteed while we here. But be patient with yourself. Allow yourself some grace. Don't be hard on yourself. Some of the tools that you can use, because I'm also about giving game as to what I know for a fact can work. A practice you can do is look in the mirror and really try to bring yourself to a space of imagining you return back to your innocent self before you knew everything you know about the world now, before you knew everything you knew about yourself now. And that external validation and love and nurturing that you seek from others, because sometimes we want that to come from our partners, sometimes we want that shit to come from our parents, sometimes we want that shit to come from our friends, sometimes we want somebody to just tell us it's okay. Look in the mirror, imagine that you are able to actually see the innocence that still does exist within you, because it's not gone. It may be a little lost, you might be a little out of touch with it, but it ain't gone. Look at yourself and imagine the innocence that you once felt within and you once knew existed. And embrace yourself. Hug yourself and really lock in. Like, imagine like you are actually giving yourself the hug that you've needed all of this time. Through everything you've been through. Really, really bring it in with yourself and tell yourself, you know what? It's okay. I forgive you. I'm here for you. I understand you. I respect you. I see you. I acknowledge you. I'm patient with you. As silly as that might sound, give it a shot and see what it do for you. And it might just be the thing that you actually needed to start to release some of those feelings that you're holding on to, because that is a part of how you're still generating aspects of a similar reality. You're still holding on to even the bad. You're still holding on to the fact that it hurt at one point in time. And you letting that hurt spill over into your reality, generating fear. And the universe really can't tell no difference between fear and desire. All it respects is the frequency. So if you sitting here in your mind thinking, damn, I don't want that shit to happen again, with the same amount of time, energy, and intent that you would put into something saying, damn, I really can't wait until that happens. The universe don't know the difference between that which you are afraid of and that which you desire. It just respects the frequency, and the frequency is coming out through thought projection. So you need to be able to release and do some practices. You know what I'm saying? Do some practices. Get into your meditation. Get into your rebalancing your heart chakras. Hey man, if crystals and light and sage and all of this, that, and the third, hell, if even if going to church is your thing, because I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I'm not necessarily a Christian, but I think everybody's way makes just as much sense as my own way, because I'm not in the business of calling what you believe in the ultimate devil any more than I'm willing to sit here and say what I believe in is the ultimate God. Whatever it is you believe in, that's for you to know whether that's working for you or not. That's not for me to say. But whatever it is you need to start doing for you, so that way we can, you know what I'm saying? We supposed to be evolving, we supposed to be growing, we supposed to be building, we supposed to be healing. We in a time where information is as abundant as it is because we are supposed to be healing, but we're also being widely distracted from that fact. So I just want to leave you with some of those tools, leave you with some of this insight. Like I said, give that whole mirror meditation thing a go and really get into the mind of it. Like, don't go in there bullshitting, even if it may feel a little different if you ain't never did nothing like that before. But really go into it with the mind that the intention is to heal myself. The intention is to set myself free emotionally. Because sometimes the biggest thing that keep us locked into some of these realities is we are shaming ourselves into repeating the behavior. We're giving birth to the behavior repeating by allowing ourselves to feel shame for it. Just acknowledge that there's no need to hate yourself for the mistakes that you've made. Even if some of the mistakes you've made, you feel like in comparison to what everybody else may think, it feel like some outlivable shit. Because we've all done something that we are just not proud of. That's true for everybody. Forgive yourself. And that's for you. That ain't for nobody else to do. If you've done somebody wrong, forgiving yourself won't necessarily take away the hurt that they feel, but it will alleviate some of the hurt that you will be willing to carry moving forward. And that's exclusively for you. So that way you don't continue to hurt people in that way. If it's just you've hurt yourself, Forgiving yourself is the very next step to be able to not do that behavior anymore, not continue to repeat that cycle, not continue to, you see what I'm saying? And it's some other stuff that go into it, man. I'll leave behind some tips on some profound meditations that I use to really get into the subconscious mind to reprogram it, because that's another aspect of it too. Acceptance is the tool that it is, just as much as judgment is the tool that it is. When I spoke on that in a recent video about judgment and acceptance being the tools that they are for higher elevations and shit, reprogramming your own subconscious mind, that's also another thing that you need to start getting into, because like I said, it's all mental. That's the first law of the universe. It's all happening in the mind. How do we control the mind? We control the mind the same way this matrix we're in actively is seeking to control our mind. We control it through trauma, we control it through repetition, and we control it through symbolism. Looking in the mirror, holding yourself, telling yourself, I forgive you, giving yourself those affirmations. There go your repetition and your goddamn and your what's the other one? Symbolism right there. Just looking at yourself, holding yourself, that's symbolic within itself. That is a symbol that you are actively observing. You're observing the symbol of forgiveness by hugging and holding yourself. That's, see, I'm telling y'all, bro, the magic ain't gotta be as complex and complicated as motherfuckers make it seem, bro. We really doing magic all day, every day. Everything that we ever do is magical. Everything that we do is magical. So before I get carried away with this video, I'm gonna just go ahead and leave y'all with that. I would give more breakdowns on the whole how to really get into your own subconscious mind and reprogram that motherfucker to your own liking, to your own choosing, and really start to change your reality in the ways that you seek to. Because shit, I'm on the path of changing reality as much as I've been changing reality, and now I'm in a space where I'm ready to start changing my reality by, instead of thinking that I'm a person that's still limited to still limited in my own wisdom, where I'm not ready to give wisdom. You see what I'm saying? I'm ready to give that which I know, because I know enough to share something with somebody. So I hope that this information has been helpful to you. I hope that you find solace, you find wisdom, and you find peace in the words that I speak. Um, Should I get to work? Peace, God.